So moving on, we've been to the hospital, we've got some x-rays. We've not got very good advice coming out of there, other than a pair of crutches. And yeah, headed home. In most cases, the x-ray actually shows a displacement of the kneecap when you've done a full patellar tendon tear, as the kneecap moves up into the thigh, and you can clearly see that on an x-ray. But in this instance, I was told that mine x-ray looked fine. I didn't really get that much advice along with my x-rays. It was more like, rest it, ice it, anti-inflammatories, and kind of see where you go from there. So, as you can imagine, my head was all over the place, wondering what have I done to my knee, what's next, and everything else that goes along with it. One of the more helpful guys at the hospital recommended going getting an MRI and potentially seeing a specialist, because there's only so much an x-ray is going to show. An x-ray is not going to show a tear in any ligaments or anything. It's only really for like snaps or fractures. So for the next 2 weeks, I tried to figure out online what I'd done to my knee. Pretty much ate my way through multiple packs of anti-inflammatories to try and keep the huge swelling down in and around my knee. Obviously with rest, ice and elevation, which are always recommended to do with any injury similar to this. So my actual injury took place on the 16th of February, as I said previously, at the City Dirt Jumps in Adelaide. I also got my x-ray on the 16th of February. It wasn't until the 27th I actually got a doctor's appointment arranged and then get a referral to go and have an MRI the same day. And then I had to wait another week to get the MRI results off the doctor, which meant scheduling an appointment back with the doctor, which was now the 3rd of March, to explain my MRI results and basically advise me of what to do next with this injury. So we're now at the doctor's on the 3rd of March. I get my appointment to receive my MRI results. The doctor is meant to go through your MRI results and basically give you the information that you need to get the injury dealt with. However, in this case, what I will say is the doctor wasn't the most thorough doctor I've ever seen, and he didn't really explain very well the terminology used on the MRI results, and he also didn't really tell me what injury I had in my knee or what to do with it. He didn't say whether it was a full tear, a little tear, whether I needed an operation, I didn't need an operation. While I was in the surgery, I was surprised that he didn't do any physical tests. So when you've done a complete tear, you basically cannot lift your leg up because it just physically won't work. It's kind of common sense tells you. There was no physical test whatsoever. I was just sat across from a desk from him and he just kind of read off the sheet, and pretty much that was the extent of it. He just read off the sheet in doctor's terminology, which, let's face it, not really any of us understand the terminology used. However, one thing he did recommend before I left the doctor's surgery was that I go and see an orthopaedic surgeon who are specialists in this kind of area to get some actual results and more information of what to do next. To be honest, it just added to the stress. You think when you go to a GP that you're actually going to get some qualified information and then know what to do next. So I kind of left the doctors a little bit confused and frustrated because I still didn't know what to do with my injury, and obviously time's ticking away now, and with most injuries you need to get it dealt with sooner than later. It ended up me resorting back to Google to really give myself some answers based off what little information he gave me on my MRI results. You may experience something similar, and feel free to put in the comments your experiences of going to different doctors or getting dealt with along the journey of your injury, because I'm always intrigued. So find me your experience in the comments, or if you've got any questions so far, again, put them in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.